Welcome back everyone to Rangers in Ruins, where today we will be doing a little tour around the Ranger Village to see if there is anything untoward happening around here. So far, everything seems to be nice and calm, no troubles whatsoever. No troubles up that way. So let's head down this way to find out if there is anything around here that is more disturbing than having an Avbach or two in the area. I will deal with the Avbach, just in case, so I guess I could include that in my report, including that it died pretty quickly, so I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. Ithrian watches the ford near Tornhad and reports that nothing is unusual. Alright, that's good to hear. Except some hobbit, I guess, going around killing the local wildlife, perhaps. So let's see what's going on in this direction. So far, everything looks nice and normal, except maybe we could clear out the path a little bit more so that wagons could get through without having trouble. The path is idyllic, quiet, and free of immediate danger, except from plants that are overgrowing into the path. So that's good. I guess if you got rangers all over the place, they must be keeping the worst troubles in check. Let's just take care of the last little bit over here. And I think everything should be fine. Well, if there's anything wrong, this approach to Tornhad seems clear, despite the hostile sounds from the heights. Welcome. Alright, that's one of those things that will be for a later time. Let's go and report. Well, there, I finished my little tour.
What do you need?
I have told the Dunedain about the Warg Pack and spoken of my hope that the Rangers will watch over the Staghorns after my departure, but they haven't agreed to do so. I admit this is not the news for which I had hoped when we came to Tornhad. Maybe they think that the Staghorns can take care of themselves. I don't know, that's a possibility.
Stay a moment.
These Dunedain have always gone where they will, and Presidir tells me that they are soon to depart on such an errand. How can they protect the Staghorns if they intend to leave the Angle and cross the mountains? Okay, that little issue. Must I change my plans? Should I not journey to the Grey Havens, there to leave Middle Earth? Well, there is that. Now, I know the Presidier doesn't know yet about the call of the Rangers because that happens at level 65 and we're only around level 42. I told Ravadron that in confidence, Pine Spear, but yes, I have some of my folk have been tasked with looking into some of the rumors coming from Mirkwood. We are soon to depart, and cannot promise him what he seeks of us. Ah, Presidir is heading off to Mirkwood. Alright, maybe I run into him in the... I can't remember where we run into Presidir in other places. I was thinking it must have been in the Great Company, but maybe we ran into him during the events in Mirkwood. Alright. We of the Dunedain have sworn an oath to Aragorn, our chief, and none of us would break that oath, even for so dear a friend as Ravadron. And he knows this, which tells me his performance is for your benefit, Vinespear. And change none of your plans, my friend. Not all of the Dunedain will come with us on this errand, and many of our people will remain here in Tornhad. They will keep an eye upon the safety of the woodcutter and his family, speak with Mithrandan and Angueth, and see if it is not so. But for you, Pine Spear, while I have your ear for something I would like to discuss, let us meet in Etheldir to the north, and we will speak while I conduct my last patrol for today. Alright. So let's go and head up north into Etheldir. Last time I came from Etheldir, I took the right path. So since I am coming from the opposite direction this time, I guess that means I'll be taking the left path and heading up here because I presume that since he came from Dornhod that he will be to the south. Yes, here he is right now. Let's find out what he has to say. Thank you for coming, Pine Spear. The Dunedain have long protected folk who dwell on the edge of the wilderness, but we could not do so if our hearts were troubled. Our own families reside within the angle of Mithathel, and if we are certain they live in safety, the obligation that we have sworn is more readily performed. So it is that the Dunedain conduct patrols such as these on the outskirts of Mithathel and on the approaches of Tornhod. In times of danger, the village can be evacuated, and we move our families to a number of caves in the outlying hills. It has happened more and more often in recent years, an unwelcome change in times, but necessary. It is a cause of sadness for the old timers and a pleasing lark for the children, but for me, it justifies our caution. What say you? Will you patrol these ruins with me? All right, I suppose that we can do that. Remain alert for anything that might threaten the safety of Tornhad and its people. I am not as well versed in the history of this land as some of my folk, but I know enough to share some of it with you. 7 centuries into the Second Age, the great elfsmith Celebrimbor journeyed from Linden to dwell in the Holly Forests at the foot of the Misty Mountains. That realm came to be known as Eregion, and it was the birthplace of many great works and treasures of craft. The heart of Celebrimbor's realm lay to the south of the Loudwater, but the elves drove out the trolls and hostile Amanedian in between, constructing outposts in the wooded hills on the border marches. The chief of these was this stronghold, Etheldir, built to watch the crossing of the Horwell and to keep open the road to Linden. The governance of this keep was given to Oranaril, an Odor companion of Celebrimbor. She had served as a captain of the wars against Morgoth and was renowned for both her loyalty and her ferocity. Alright? Follow me, Pine Spear. Last time I was in here, there were orcs. Just saying. So be careful. This place has seen better days. And worse. Right? Ravithan lived here with Etheldir when Etheldir was young. But his people was not resided in Etheldir for many centuries. It is home now to only orcs and to brigands and beasts. Are you ready? Alright. What, for the orcs, the brigands, or the beasts? Drop your coins to the ground and you might leave with your lives! You're kidding me. I offer you the same choice, but keep your coins, I want them not! You think they have a good laugh? Get 'em, boys! Alright, well. We'll be, you're not going to be laughing for laughing for very long. There goes one. There goes two. There's an archer. Oh, hello, Lee. It looks like they have a few archers on the side too. And you okay? They don't give up, do they? Well, we're not going to be giving up either. It might be good for them to flee if they want to be able to stay alive. That's the last of them. All right, that's good to hear. I would not have begrudged them the shelter if it came by it honestly, and turned not to robbery, but alas, it was not so. Presidier gazes to the sky, peering into the unknowable heights. It looks like rain, he says, and then returns his gaze to the earth. You have heard of the War of the Elves and Sauron Pinespear, in which the Dark Lord sought mastery over the works of Eregion? Celebrimbor perceived the designs of Sauron, but there was little time to prepare for the destruction that awaited the elves. The story of that war is a sad one, Pinespear. The defense of Eregion were overrun. Celebrimbor was captured and slain. Elrond fled with the survivors of Eregion to establish a hidden haven in the mountains. I guess that's Imladris. That was Imladris, as you know. Oranaril took charge of the remaining soldiers following the death of Celebrimbor. Only her great skill in command kept the defeat from becoming an inescapable bloodbath, and she ordered her people to retreat. At the Halline Ridge, she watched the horror of Sauron's forces march behind the ghastly banner they had made of the once proud elven smith. Knowing a similar fate awaited her if she were caught, Oranaril devised a scheme to save what of her people she could. She chose a small force from her own household and tricked Sauron's army into pursuing them. On a grim chase she led them across the Bruin and into the Angle, while the bulk of her kindred escaped by secret paths into the mountains and then to Elrond's young refuge. Revadron was one of these, and he never forgot his last sight of Oradril's company disappearing over the ridge, pursued by Sauron's foot soldiers. I take it they didn't make it? This way, Pinespear. Through here. Watch your step. Carefully. Okay. The churning waters of the Horwell rush by you far below. Ah! Here comes the rain! I thought so. Wonderful. Oranril's company evaded the armies of the Dark Lord until they reached Etheldir, but when they arrived below the stronghold, they found the crossing of the Horwell already held against them. A brief siege followed, but the orcs far outnumbered the few elves that remained. The gates were broken and the keep razed. One by one the companions of Oranaril perished, until only she and 3 others remained. Together they performed one last act of defiance, fighting their way through the throng of Celebrimbor's body and prizing it from the clutches of the orcs. With her last dying strength, Oranaril, now the last surviving elf of Etheldir, took up the smith's corpse and leapt from the precipice into the foaming waters of the Horwell. And so even in his victory, Sauron was robbed of his trophies, and his anger was without match. Furious that many of the Noldor had eluded him, and unable to find where they had fled, Sauron invaded Eriador from the Angle, intending to crush the realm of Lindon. Instead, he found the men of Numenor waiting for him. for they had answered the call of Gilgalad, and the combined forces of elves and men broke Sauron's strength. From whence came the final blow? Why, it came from Elrond and the folk of Imladris, for when the strength was recovered, they returned with a fire in their hearts, and Sauron could not stand against them. Defeated, it was his turn to flee. To Mordor he escaped. A fitting story for the rain. What next? After the war, the elves searched both the Horwell and the Greyflood for the remains of Oranaril and Celebrimbor, but they found no sign of either. The precipices became a place of pilgrimage for many of the Noldor, particularly for those whose flight to Rivendell she had brought with her life. Ravadrun was one of these, Pinespear, and I know it is not easy for him to walk today in the angle with such memories as these still fresh in his mind. Eregion remained desolate after the war of the elves and Sauron, its shattered hills crumbling and the passage of the years becoming overgrown with grass and vine. But the stones remain what transpires, and so do those who were there. This is why I do not gainsay Ravadron his choices to leave Middle-earth. If that is the peace he desires, I want him to have it. Anything else to add while we dry off? I thank you again for hearing me out, Pinespear. I can't begin to understand the burden that Ravadron must feel when he walks in this land. I want him to depart these shores and find his peace and heart that he deserves. I hope you feel the same, and will help him accomplish it. Let's now turn to Tornhod. Right, let's return. We finished our patrol.
How can I be of service?
Welcome back, Pinespear. While you and Presidir were gone, I received assurances from the others of his folk that they will keep a watchful eye on the staghorns when I am gone. So that is all right. What did you and he speak about while you were away?
Mind my words, traveller.
I see, yes, of course. Presidir spoke true. The land holds many unhappy memories for me. It was many years before I walked these hills again, and my friends among the Stoors eased those hurts somewhat, but they did not long stay here. When they departed, I did too, and I wished them not return. Only the wish of Elrond or his sons could bring me back to Mithaithel, and so it was. I found no sign of the Black Riders that they sought, but I did befriend Madoc and Glen Staghorn, and that friendship was a bright memory, unlike those I have of Sauron's war upon the elves. I hope I have not damaged its foundation. But that has given me an idea, Pinespear. The Staghorns have lived in the Angle for most of their lives, but they have not the long lives of the Eldar. This has always been a land of beauty to them, unmarred by the memory of war. I will give to them a gift, a painted landscape of Mithaithel, and that will repair the hurts done by our quarrel. I've not forgotten the lessons of Wenna, the painterly store I once knew in Glenafon. We will fashion the pigments I need from the natural materials found throughout Mithaithel, and so will the painting be made from the landscape it represents. This is going to work, Pinespear. Can I ask you to help me collect the soft stones that I will need to make the paints? You will find them along the riverbanks throughout the Angle. I will meet you outside of Thelgoth when we have enough, and I believe from that high place I will find a vista worth painting. Very well, I will look for these all throughout the Angle, and that's what we'll be doing at the start of the next episode of Rangers and Ruin.